Mr. Speaker, the which chokes the honourable gentleman is more eloquent than any human language can be. I fully appreciate also the intensity of the grief that fills the souls of those who were the friends and followers of Sir John Macdonald, whose entire life has been so closely identified with their party. We, on this side of the House, who were his opponents, who did not believe in his policies or his methods of government, we take our full share of their grief. It is, in every sense, a great national loss. For he who is no more was, in many respects, Canada's most illustrious son, and in every sense, Canada's foremost citizen and statesman. At the period of life to which Sir John Macdonald had arrived, death, whenever it comes, cannot be said to come unexpectedly. In the turmoil, a few months ago, in the turmoil of the late election, when the country was made aware that on a certain day, the physical strength of the veteran premier was not equal to his courage, and that his intense labors had for the time being prostrated his singularly wiry frame, everyone, with the exception perhaps of his buoyant self, was painfully anxious, lest that perhaps the angel of death had touched him with his wing. And when a few days ago, in the heat of an angry discussion in this Parliament, news spread through this House that of a sudden his condition had become alarming, the surging waves of angry discussion were at once hushed, and everyone, friend and foe, realized that this time, for a certainty, the angel of death had appeared and touched him with his wing and crossed the threshold of his home. Thus, we were not taken by surprise. And although we were prepared for the sad event, nevertheless, it is almost impossible to convince the unwilling mind that it's true, that Sir John Macdonald is no more, that the chair which you now see vacant shall remain forever vacant, that the face so familiar to this Parliament for more than 40 years shall be seen no more, that the voice so well known shall be heard no more. In fact, the place of Sir John Macdonald in this country was so large and so absorbing that it's almost impossible to conceive of the political life of this country, the fate of this country without him. His loss overwhelms us. For my part, I say with all truth, his loss overwhelms me as it overwhelms this Parliament, as if one of the institutions of the land had given way. Sir John Macdonald now belongs to the ages. But it can be said with certainty that the career which has just been closed was one of the most remarkable careers of the century. It would be premature at this time to attempt to fix or anticipate what will be the final judgment of history upon him. Yet there were features in his career and in his life so prominent and so conspicuous that already they shine with a glow that time cannot alter. I think it can be asserted that in the supreme art of governing men, Sir John Macdonald was gifted, as few men in any age or any land were gifted, qualities which have made him famous wherever exercised, that he could congregate together the most heterogeneous and blend them into one compact party, and to the end of his days keep them steadily under his hand is perhaps altogether unprecedented. The fact that for all those years he retained unimpaired not only the confidence, but the devotion, the ardent devotion and affection of his party is evidence that besides the higher qualities of statesmanship to which we were daily witness, he was also endowed with those subtle, inner, indefinable graces of soul which win and keep the hearts of men. As to his statesmanship, it's written in the history of Canada. It can be said without any exaggeration that the life of Sir John Macdonald, from the date he entered Parliament, is the history of Canada. Although my political views compel me to say that in my judgment the actions that he took were always the best that could have been taken in the interests of Canada, and my conscience compels me to say that of late he has imputed to his opponents motives which in my heart, I must say, he has misconceived. Yet I'm only too glad here to sink those differences and to remember only the great services that he has performed for our country, and to remember that his actions always displayed great originality of views, unbounded fertility of resources, a high degree of intellectual conceptions, but above all, broad patriotism, a devotion to Canada's welfare, Canada's advancement, and to Canada's glory. Thank you very much.